Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. I hope this rain is not dampering your mood too much like it is mine. I have to say, I'm a little more stir crazy today, and my anxiety is a little bit higher, so I thought we needed an extra long mindful practice today. Now, those of you that have been in a mindfulness class with me, you know one of my favorite activities is a virtual beach walk. So that's what we're going to do since it's not great weather for getting out there on the beach today. And to help, I actually have some props. So here is my beach glass collection that I started. I've been collecting beach glass since I was a little kid, but this is all the beach glass I have found since January 1st. My New Year's resolution was to enjoy where we live more often year round. And to show that, I've been collecting beach glass and trying to fill up this jar by the end of this year. So here's my beach glass. I pulled out a couple pieces that are my favorite. This nice olivey green one I thought was really cool. Then, I don't know if you can tell, but this one is lavender, so I really like that. Go purple, HB strong, right? We are HB. And I always love a good blue piece. Now, this one was a little jagged, but I couldn't resist. It was such a nice piece, so I couldn't throw it back. Now, if you're not a beach glass fan, we can also collect shells. So I do have this nice scallop shell that I found a couple weeks ago, and yeah, so here are our props. What I want you guys to do is get comfortable. I'm going to talk you through a virtual beach walk. Those that have done it before will be familiar with it. I also, yesterday while I was actually walking on the beach, I took some video. So I am going to let you guys enjoy that video while I talk you through our virtual beach walk. Please enjoy. Take a moment and really picture yourself at your favorite beach. Maybe it's a beach you're able to visit often, or maybe it's a beach you went to on vacation, or maybe it's a beach that only exists in your imagination. Whatever it is, really picture yourself there. Listen for the sound of the crashing waves. Feel the sand between your toes. Smell the salt air and suntan lotion, and feel the sun beating down on your face. Now imagine that you have a bucket with you. As we walk down the beach, for every bad thought that pops into your head, I want you to pick up a stone and just throw it out into the water. And for every good thought, I want you to pick up a piece of beach glass or a pretty shell and put it into your bucket, filling your bucket up to the brim with all of your good thoughts. I'm going to give you 1 minute of clock time to be on your walk. Now it's time to come back to your beach chair. At this point, your bucket should be heavy, filled with all of the good thoughts that you found along the way. Take a moment to really picture what that looks like to you. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and bring your attention back to me. Times like this that we filter our thoughts. So filtering out the bad, getting rid of it, discarding it, and hanging on to and collecting all of our good thoughts, all of our beach glass. So really keep that in mind as we go through the next couple of weeks and really think about how we can filter out all of those bad thoughts and just hang on to what we are grateful for and what we have good in our lives, because there's a lot there. And sometimes just the bad thoughts bring us down, and we have to make sure we're working against that. So, with that in mind, let's move on to chapter 6 of the Tale of Despereaux. Chapter 6, This Drum. He simply cannot be my son, Lester said. He clutched his whiskers with his front paws and shook his head from side to side in despair. Of course he is your son, said Antoinette. What do you mean he is not your son? This is a ridiculous statement. Why must you always make the ridiculous statements? You, said Lester, this is your fault. The French blood in him has made him crazy. C'est moi? Said Antoinette. C'est moi. Why must it always be I who takes the blame? If your son is such the disappointment, it is as much your fault as it is mine. Something must be done, said Lester. He pulled on a whisker so hard that it came loose. He waved it above his head. He pointed at his wife. He will be the end of us all, he shouted, sitting at the foot of a human king. Unbelievable, unthinkable. Oh, so dramatic, said Antoinette. She held out one paw and studied her painted nails. He's a small mouse. How much of a harm can he be? If there is one thing I have learned in this world, said Lester, it is that mice must act like mice, or else there is bound to be trouble. I will call a special meeting of the Mouse Council. Together, we will decide what must be done. Ugh, said Antoinette. You and this Council of the Mouse. It is a waste of time, in my opinion. Don't you understand? Shouted Lester. He must be punished. He must be brought before the tribunal. He pushed past her and dug furiously through a pile of paper scraps until he uncovered a thimble with a piece of leather stretched across its open end. Oh, please, said Antoinette, and she covered her ears. Not this drum of the Council of the Mouse. Yes, said Lester, the drum. He held it up high above his head, first to the north, then to the south, then to the east and the west. He lowered it and turned his back to his wife and closed his eyes and took a deep breath. And began to beat the drum slowly, one long beat with his tail, two staccato beats with his paws. Boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap. The rhythm of the drum was a signal for the members of the Mouse Council. Boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap. The beating of the drum let them know that an important decision would have to be made, one that affected the safety and well-being of the entire mouse community. Boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap, boom. So that's chapter 6. Again, Miss Mazer, I know you're listening with your kids, another great chapter talking about music, well, the drum, not really music that's cheerful, but my world drumming students, I hope you got into that rhythm a little bit. And let's move on to chapter 7. And what was our own favorite member of the mouse community doing while the sound of the Mouse Council drum echoed through the walls of the castle? Reader, I must report that Furlough had not seen the worst of it. Despereaux sat with the princess and the king and listened to song after song. At one point, gently, oh so gently, the pea picked up the little mouse in her hand. She cupped him in her palm and scratched his oversized ears. You have lovely ears, the pea said to him. They are like small pieces of velvet. Despereaux thought that he might faint with the pleasure of someone referring to his ears as small and lovely. He laid his tail against the pea's wrist to steady himself, and he felt the princess's pulse, the pounding of her heart, and his own heart immediately took up the rhythm of hers. "Papa," the pea said when the music was over, "I am going to keep this mouse. We are going to be great friends." The king looked at Despereaux, cupped in his daughter's hands. He narrowed his eyes. "A mouse?" he muttered. "A rodent?" "What?" said the pea. "Put it down," the king commanded. "No," said the pea, who was a person not at all used to being told what to do. "I mean, why should I?" "Because I told you to." "But why?" protested the pea. "Because it's a mouse." "I know, I'm the one who told you he was a mouse." "I wasn't thinking," said the king. "Thinking of what?" "Your mother, the queen." "My mother?" said the pea sadly. "Mice are rodents," said the king. He adjusted his crown. "They are related to the rats. You know how we feel about rats. You know of our own dark history with rats." The pea shuddered. "But Papa," she said, "he is not a rat. He's a mouse. There's a difference." "Royalty," the king said, "has many responsibilities, and one of them is not becoming involved personally with even the distant relative of one's enemies. Put him down, P." The princess put Despereaux down. "Good girl," said the king, and then he looked at Despereaux. "Scat," he said. Despereaux, however, did not scat. He sat and stared up at the princess. The king stamped his foot. "Scat!" he shouted. "Papa," said the princess, "please don't be mean to him," and she began to weep. Despereaux, seeing her tears, broke the last of the great ancient rules of mice. He spoke to a human. "Please," said Despereaux, "don't cry." He held out his handkerchief to the princess. The pea sniffed and leaned down close to him. "Do not speak to her," thundered the king. Despereaux dropped his handkerchief. He backed away from the king. "Rodents do not speak to princesses. We will not have this becoming a topsy-turvy, wrong-headed world. There are rules. Scat! Get lost before my common sense returns and I have you killed." King stamped his foot again. Despereaux found it alarming to have such a big foot brought down with so much force and anger so close to his own small head. He ran toward the hole in the wall. But he turned before he entered it. He turned and shouted to the princess, "My name is Despereaux." "Despereaux," she said. "I honor you," shouted Despereaux. "I honor you," was what the knight said to the fair maiden in the story that Despereaux read every day in the book in the library. Despereaux had muttered the phrase often to himself, but he had never before this evening had occasion to use it when speaking to someone else. "Get out of here," shouted the king, stamping his foot harder, and then harder still, so it seemed as if the whole castle, the very world, were shaking. "Rodents know nothing of honor." Despereaux ran into the hole, and from there he looked out at the princess. She had picked up his handkerchief, and she was looking at him, right directly into his soul. "Despereaux," she said. He saw his name on her lips. "I honor you," whispered Despereaux. "I honor you." He put his paw over his heart. He bowed so low that his whiskers touched the floor. He was, alas, a mouse, deeply in love. So that is chapter 6 and chapter 7. I hope you guys are enjoying. Again, I'm getting such great feedback. I'm glad you guys like the videos. I know this one was a little bit longer, but I felt like with the rainy day, we needed a longer mindful moment. So I will see you guys tomorrow with hopefully a little more sunshine. Maybe we'll get outside again. All right, have a great day.